Good morning, everybody. I have my coffee. I'm home again. There's James's robe hanging up on the corner of the door. You know, he's tall and I'm short. I'll just leave it there. We're not going to worry about it. So anyway, I'm going to turn my hearing aids off so that you'll definitely hear me what else I have to say today. And maybe I'll hear me too, because I talk a little louder if I take my hearing aids off. I hear too good when I turn my hearing aids on. So anyway, I got my coffee. I'm going to treat my feet. James is still tired. He's not completely back to his old self yet. So I told him, he said, I want to take a nap. So we're still at his house. And I got these kitty cats around. And I'm going to treat my feet. Once I get arranged, take my socks off. I wear knee highs because it helps my varicose veins. When you're 91, well, I've had varicose veins for years. Fact is, I had a granddaughter that had to have surgery for hers, but mine don't bother me that bad if I keep a little pressure on them. So I'm kicking things around this morning. I'll bring it back up. I've got a stand that's really handy here at James's house, and it just sits there and I don't have to hold it or anything. Amazon does sell the most fantastic things, don't they? And reasonable, a lot of it. Now here's my rebuilder. See, and this is my sticky pads, and I put them on the bottom of my feet and I treat them for 30 minutes. So here we go. Anyway, today, I wanted to talk about loneliness. You know, I got a comment from somebody. I don't remember if it was man or woman. I think, well, anyhow, they said, you know, they're a lonely person. And that happens a lot of times, that we have loneliness. And it sure happened to me a few times. And so what did I find out that I need to do to help my loneliness? Just a minute. I'm going to pause this. I'll be right back. Here we go again. Moving on. I have learned how to pause this iPhone. Isn't that neat? I'm a slow learner sometimes, but I noticed it had a pause button down in the corner. So I did what I needed to do, and here I am again. But today, I wanted to talk about loneliness. This person said that I'm a lonely person. And yes, I've been lonely many times after I got married to number one, and he kept going AWOL for 2 times. He hitchhiked home 2 times, all the way from California. I mean, he went over the fence from boot camp twice. And so finally I decided to go stay with him. And of course, that's a story that I've told, and who knows, I may tell it again, because that was something else, kiddos. I have told that on other videos. Anyway, so what do you do? So I ended up in California, living in a little apartment by myself. And I had always had friends and acquaintances, and me and another girl had an apartment, and I was a waitress, and I had friends there and acquaintances. There's always people around. But when I moved to California, not knowing anybody, and I was about 19 years old, 18 or 19, I don't remember. I was young. So how do you make friends? Well, I went to church. Out there, the bus came by just as I was getting into my new little apartment, right after I arrived. And the Heavenly Father went before me, and I had a little apartment that first day I got there, which God just kept doing miracles for me, but I knew I didn't want to be alone. So I went to church, and I made friends. And then when my husband went overseas, and I had to move up to another city, not in San Diego, but to Long Beach. There I was again. No friends. Nobody. What do you do? I went to church. I didn't make any friends. There was nobody there that was interested in being friends. So what do you do? Well, I went out of my way to knock on doors and said hello. And there was a visitors thing out there. When somebody new moved to the area, they bought you presents. That was in Long Beach, California. So somebody showed up with some gifts in the apartment complex where I lived. And I got me a little dog. And I got pregnant. But by then, I had made several friends. With a black girl downstairs, a Japanese girl that also lived downstairs, a girl that had married it. So the Bible says to have friends. This is in Proverbs, I think. You must first show yourself to be friendly. So I am a friendly person. So next thing you knew, I had friends. And it was very interesting. Some of the friends I made, really. So then I had to move again. Always moving, because he would be gone on board ship. And I made this one really good friend, and she was pregnant and I was pregnant. So I got me a little 11-inch TV, which run about $30, that you had to put an antenna on. And me and her would take a time about where to put the antenna. You walk around the room of the apartment where I lived. Her name was Nancy. Nancy would take her turn walking with the antenna, and then I would take my turn walking with the antenna till we got a good picture of Lucy or whatever there was only 3 channels out there, but that was enough for me and her to watch, because she didn't have a TV and I did. I spent my $30 and got me one, 11 inches, black and white. We didn't get color for a long time, not till after we went back to Indiana. This is my favorite cup. It cost $4. I ordered it from Amazon. It's plastic and it's real lightweight. You can put it in the microwave, rewarm your coffee. It's a blessing to have a cup like this, and it holds a lot of coffee, which I make my own. I drink Victor Allen, and I like the 100% Colombian, and I buy it for $22 at Big O. No, not Big O, that's the tire place. What is that place? Oh, well, I get it where it's cheap. I don't remember. You know what? I have those little glitches that a name escapes me, and I know that, but I do know I drink 100% Colombian, and it's like it's a cup, and you put it in your coffee maker, and it makes your coffee in about a minute and a half, and it's really good. Victor Allen. So, back to being lonely. So we had that little TV, and then the twins were born. And Nancy, came 2 months, a little better than 2 months early, and Nancy was still pregnant. My babies, Karen and Kathy, was supposed to be born in July. They came in May, June, July. They were very small, and it was such a surprise. But I had friends, so I had to wake up hardly anybody had a car, but this girl that I'd made friends with had a car, and I was bleeding so bad, and my labor was so bad that I woke her up and I said, I've got to get to a hospital. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I can't get there, and I'm in an emergency situation. She said, well, my babies are asleep. She had 3 little kids. She said, but I'll tell you what, it's not that far. I'll run you and drop you off. And that's what she did. So when I got there, I said to the doctors, I said, you can stop this, right? Because it's too early. So they examined me and they said, no, ma'am, we cannot stop this. These babies are going to be born. And they were right. So the twins were born, and then they were in the incubators for 1 month. They wouldn't let me touch them, they let me look at them through a window till they weigh 5 pounds, and when they get 5 pounds, you can take them home. By then, I was 20 years old, going on 21. I'm 20 years older than the girls. My mom was 20 years older than me. So, Kathy, I took Kathy home first. And then Karen didn't get to come home for another week. And I had prepared a crib. So I put both those babies in the crib. And the doctors told me, do you know these preemies? They'll quit breathing. They just can't seem to remember how to breathe, and they'll quit breathing, and you have to shake them. We don't have any other way you just sleep close to them, and if they quit breathing, shake them. Well, I had to shake Kathy a time or two because I put put the crib right there by my bed. And you know what? I loved them babies so much. And I thought they were beautiful, the little bald-headed things. I got pictures of them. They didn't have much hair, if any. Well, you know what I did for that? Back then, when people would say, those are cute little boys, I had bonnets on them. They knew they were girls. Karen and Kathy. They're 70 years old now and doing well. Married wonderful men, got wonderful kids and grandchildren. I successfully raised them, and I wondered if I could keep them alive, to tell you the truth. Because, you know, a young mother all by herself. And I had this girlfriend that was going to come help me. She said, now, she moved to Torrance, California, which wasn't too far. Her and her husband and her mom and dad all moved out there at Torrance, and they bought a motel. And I went to visit them when I was pregnant. And it was just not long before they came. And the father said, you know, you look like an apple on a stem to your figure, because my tummy stuck out so far. And I weighed 110 pounds, and all of a sudden I weighed 144 pounds. I gained a lot of weight with those twins. And I did look preposterous. But they came early, so anyhow, I thought all the time, tomorrow I will call Bonnie, because she said, if you need help, because I visited them where they were living, and she was a good friend of mine from Indiana. And she says, I'll come. You know, it's not that far. And I'll come help you. Well, nearly every other day I would think, I'm calling Bonnie. I'm calling her tomorrow. Bottom line is, guess what? So finally I called Bonnie and I said, Bonnie, guess what? I don't need you now. She said, well, it's good you didn't. I just got back from Indiana. I've been on a 30-day vacation back there visiting all our friends. I really missed Indiana. I missed the seasons. You know, the leaves don't turn pretty in California. And when I was living out there, the sun, it would be overcast till about 9:30 or 10, till the sun would get all the clouds and fog and whatever away. I mean, I just didn't like California that much. So, but I thought that when he got out of the Navy, we would just go ahead and live in California instead of moving home. But my daddy had got real sick. So when he got out of the Navy, which he did, we moved to Cupertino, California. But talk about being lonely, I'm skipping around some. So after Buddy passed away, I was so lonely again. We were married 44 years, and we had been together constantly on the evangelistic field for 14 years. And so when he passed away, I thought my life was over. So I went walking at the mall and getting out of the house. You have to get out of that house, I found out. For loneliness, you've got to get out of that house if your health permits it, which I know some people can't. But if you can, get out, go somewhere, do something. So I went to the mall. There's a lot of people up there walking. And they even had a room up there at the Green Tree Mall that was for the walkers. And you could come in and have a cookie and a cup of coffee. And I really made friends. And I made Anna Maria's a friend. And Karen was home. One of the twins, her husband was in the Air Force, and he was deployed. So she was staying in Indiana for the year that he was deployed to Korea. So she kept me company, and that was such a blessing. But it was still, I had lonely nights and lonely days, and so walking there, I met number 2. And, you know, I would have him by for lunch, and before we got married, and we would go out to eat, and he was company. And I made friends with Anna Marie, the German girl who has gone on to heaven. Most of my close acquaintances have gone on to heaven. Thank goodness. James is 8 years younger than me, my husband I have right now. But you never know when God's going to call you home. Stay ready is all I can say. And I'm staying ready. I'm prayed up. I tell people, stay prayed up. When number 2 went away, when he went to the nursing home, there I was lonely again. What am I going to do? I don't know. I was sitting there one night and I said, man, I can't take this because it was dark out and nobody to visit with. I had one cat and she helped a little, but not much. I found out now that 2 cats are more fun. But anyway, I said, this ain't working. So I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go dancing. Now, I was in my I was in my late, when he passed, he was, I don't remember, but I think I was about 71, 72, when I decided to go dancing. Because number 2 and I were married 11 years, but the last 2 or 3 years he was in a nursing home. And that's when I got so lonely. When he went to the nursing home, then's when I decided to go dancing. So I said, I know where I'll go. They had music at the VFW every Friday night, a good country band. So I went down there and I introduced, you know me, well, you have to learn to do that. It's gutsy. And it's even gutsy for me to say hello there when you're going into a strange place. But it comes and goes. My gutsiness does. My nerve comes and goes. But it was high that night. So I went down there and I saw somebody I did vaguely recognize. So I said, do you know anybody here that would like to dance with me maybe, or I could dance with them? She said, yes, Sonny, right over there. So I went over and I said, Sonny, my name is, and I told him, and he said, well, my name is Sonny. I hear your name is Sonny. Would you want to dance? He couldn't dance worth nothing. But you know what? It got me introduced. And you know what else I did? I sat down at a table with some other ladies and introduced myself. You got to be a little strong to do that kind of stuff. But the Lord has always strengthened me to do the things that I don't seem like I have the guts to do. But I just did it. And I made friends with them, and they were all pretty girls. And you know what I told them? I said, I want to sit with all the pretty girls. That's where I want to be. And I made such good friends with them, and they were all so attractive to be senior citizens because them gals took care of themselves. And they didn't look as old as they are. Oh, some of them are gone now. But I ran into one not too long ago. Her name was Barbara. We called her Barb. And all the guys want to dance with Barb. She's gorgeous. She's still gorgeous. She was having a yard sale. Because I quit going dancing when I married James, number 3. So I haven't been dancing now for about 14 years. We'll be married 15 years it's December. I think her anniversary just got passed and we didn't even notice it. It was December 6th. That's a joke, isn't it? Who forgets their anniversary? Me and him. We're just used to each other now. She's sleeping this morning. He's still a little bit under the weather. He don't feel real great, but he's about back to normal. So I told him, go ahead, take a nap. I'll cut a video and talk to my buddies out there and about being lonely. And I've been lonely a lot of times, but after I met James, I didn't feel like painting pictures anymore. I didn't want to make bows anymore. He had so much he wanted to do, like go to bluegrass, go here, there, and yonder, and he still does that. And thank you, Jesus, I could keep up with him. But this morning, when I needed something moved, I said, you know I'm a little short. Oh, he wanted me to put the shades down because he's leaning back in his easy chair, and I'm in the laundry room talking to y'all. And he said, put the shades down. Well, there was shoes all in the way, and I said, honey, you know I'm short. I can't hardly reach those cords to let the shades down to keep the sun out of your eyes. Because he wants the sun in his eyes all the time. I like it kind of dark and intimate. I don't like all that light because I can't see anything. The light bothers me more as I get older. But he said, put the shades down. So I said, you know I'm short. My mom used to say, she wouldn't say she was short. She said, my legs just aren't very long. As if that didn't... My legs aren't very long either. I think about my mom a lot. You always miss your mom no matter what. We were like sisters, and now I've got 3 daughters, and we're more like sisters, and we chat all the time on messaging, and they say good morning the first thing, in the day, and I say good morning back, and we keep up with what each other's doing. And you don't get lonely like that either. That's a good thing to do when you're lonely. Keep in touch with your kids. The thing of it is, I found out your kids go ahead and live their own life. They're not interested in your life. Now, when Floyd, number 2, went away, I had enough funds. My daughter Kim has a place out in the country, and she would have had plenty of room for me to put a double wide trailer or a single wide, just a trailer. I had the money to do it. And I thought that through, and I thought, she lives 18 miles out in the country. I said, no, I can't do that. I'm going to stay here in my house. So then we thought about, I was so lonely, how about my granddaughter come live with me? And I thought, no, I can't do that either. So you know what I did? I just go to the Walmart, Aldi's, and I speak to people. I wear flowers. I've always worn flowers in my hair. And that starts conversation. They say, I like your flower in your hair. And then you can say, thank you. How are you doing today? And next thing you know, and of course church. Because that's how I met number 3. I was crying over number 2. I'd go to the good church that me and him went to for 10 years, a good Baptist church, Graceland. And when I would go in and the music would start, the tears would come. And I said, this ain't working. So I said, I'm going to change churches. I'm going to go where I won't cry, where I'm not reminded of the same music and the same people. I'm going to escape. So I said, I got a nephew, though. I don't want to be completely alone. I have a nephew who goes to this Pentecostal church, and I'm really Pentecostal, and I know God can do anything and does miracles all the time, which he's done for us. And I can tell you all about them in my other YouTube things, the miracles that God has done in my life and still doing. So I changed churches, and the first person that shook my hand was this tall, good-looking man. Of course, we knew each other 4 years, but I always thought he was good-looking. But he was still married. His wife was very ill. And, of course, my husband was in a nursing home. But I noticed he was so good-looking, or that's what I thought. He shook my hands and said good morning. And then later on, I found out how sick his wife was. And I said, well, my husband's in a nursing home. So anyway, they passed away, and after they did, those other widows in that church did not have a chance. And there's one of them that's my good friend, and she would have liked to have a chance, but it didn't happen. I nabbed him when I got a chance. Well, but anyway, I was alone that 4 years, but I was going to a good church, and my sister and her husband was real friendly with me because I had moved back to Indiana years ago because my daddy was so sick, and I wanted him to know the twins. And he was here long enough before he died at 48 to come to their 4th birthday party that I had when we was living in that shotgun house in New Albany, Indiana, which is now an empty lot on Beeler Street. I see that empty lot every once in a while because Gary lives up that way. Now, my friend Gary is supposed to find out today about the results of his surgery, if it's cancer or not, and we're believing God that he's clear. They took out, 3/8 of one kidney because it was bleeding all the time. So, thank you all for your prayers for Gary. We're believing for the best. We always believe for the best, and God will help us with the rest. That's what I always say. So y'all walk that walk now where Jesus would be pleased with you. Love you. Bye-bye.